This is Trust and Believe the Gospel. I am nobody, and that is the conscious Christian. We're about to get into this. What's good, Jerome, man? How you doing today, bro?
What's up, bro? Man, I'm doing pretty good, man. You know what I'm saying? Our brother Piankhi kind of gave a spirited response, man. I like how you put the presentation together, but you know, we got to respond to certain things that he said. You know what I'm saying? But you know,
Right. Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that. That was gonna be my first thing. I know you saw the bulletproof video just like I did, man. And in the video, he threw a challenge our way, man. And he wanted to challenge you and I to a 4-man debate with him and I believe brother Shabaka. So I want to get your thoughts on that, bro, and I want to see how you feel you and I should go about that.
Well, yeah, he did put on the bulletproof persona. You know what I'm saying? And you know, he threw out the challenge. You know, and I never back down from a challenge. You know what I'm saying, for a discussion. If it's within my parameters, so to speak. I don't jump into things that I can't handle, but you know, in this case, you know, we've been having back and forth for, I want to say, a month or better. So I feel like, you know, it should culminate in an open discussion or debate or however they, you know, they want to kind of nip it in the bud.
Okay. So that's to confirm that's a challenge accepted from your end, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, I know you somewhere out there. Challenge accepted, man. For the listening audience, for those who may not be up to date, I just want to check some people up, and I'm going to do it in this metaphoric way, just so I don't take up too much of the time. A challenge was presented that they were the best, and we said that wasn't true. Then it was said, well, if that isn't true, here goes the address. Pull up on us and prove to us that it isn't true. We pull up, we fire shots. Once the smoke cleared, come to find out, nobody was even at the address that was given to us. So I would have to agree, Brother Piankhi and Brother Metu, they are bulletproof. But it's not because they somehow absorbed the shots that was fired at them. They're bulletproof because they were nowhere in the vicinity or around the locations when the shots were fired. And I just wanted to put that out there for y'all to catch y'all up to date. And if you want to expound on that, Jerome, you can.
Yeah, man. I like I said, you know, Brother Piankhi put on the bulletproof persona. You know what I'm saying, in his last presentation. But you know what I'm saying, you can only be bulletproof when you're not in the line of fire. You know what I'm saying, and I think that's what happened with his last presentation. You know what I'm saying, he was bulletproof in regards to him not directly addressing some of the claims that we made, and on top of that, he didn't address the fact that we thoroughly debunked the notion that anything that came out of Kemet had any bearing on Christianity, the Bible, and the core doctrines of Christianity and the Bible, that being the Trinity, baptism, and the cross.
Right, I would have to agree with that. And to back up our claims, bro, for the listening audience and those who watching, I'm finna play the video that jumped all this off. Jerome had some issues with what Brother Metu said, as in things being copied or stolen. So he went on the paradigm shift, and he gave his spiel about it. And I want to play that just to show that what we are saying was not even addressed. Hope y'all can hear this. Okay, as we can see, that is what jumped everything off. And like you had said, man, I liked it, the in defense video. I even liked it, the bulletproof video even better, you know, based off the visual presentations, the audio, everything I liked about it. Even some of the information in it, I agree with. But I feel like they both failed to address the argument at hand, in which the argument was you coming on there addressing claims by Methuhotep. First off, he said that the creation in Genesis was a copy or to the creation in the Kemetic spirituality story. He also said that Cain and Abel was somewhat of a copy, if I believe, of Set and Osiris. He also said that the 10 Commandments was a copy of the 42 laws of Mayat. He said that the Trinity between the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit was a copy of Asar, Aset, and Haru. And he also said that Christian baptism was a copy of the water ritual that they performed in Egypt.
Yes, that's exactly how it went down. They were saying that, you know, what we hold to was just a mere copy of what were spiritual concepts and practices that were that originated or had their inception in ancient Kemet. And you know, we had to show them that that wasn't the case, that, you know what I'm saying, Christianity and the core tenets associated with Christianity are distinct and have no genetic dependence on anything that came out of Kemet at all. You know what I'm saying? So
I agree with you. Now that we have proven that our argument really wasn't expressed, we're not going to touch on every single thing. Today, we just want to clear up some stuff. We're not putting out a challenge or anything like that. We just want to clear up some stuff. And we mainly want to clear up the baptism, the Trinity, and we're going to touch on the cross and the Ankh, because those are pretty much the three things that they touched on the most. But Brother Piankhi did touch on the Set and Osiris and the brothers and stuff like that, but he mostly touched on things in a way where he was trying to prove that those things actually did exist in Kemet. Now, our argument in no way, shape, or form was to try to prove or disprove if something did or didn't happen in Kemet. We were merely saying that whatever happened in Kemet, the things that we practice in Christianity was not a copy of those things. But I do want to stand on my square, and I do want to prove that baptism did not take place in Kemet. I also want to put forward that I did not claim to be a scholar slayer or a scholar killer. I do humbly accept the moniker, but I want to let it be known that I didn't claim to be that. The moniker was given to me for one reason, based off my understanding, was because in the defense video that Brother Piankhi and Brother Methuhotep had done, the scholars that they presented to back up their notions, I pretty much ripped their scholarship and their information to shreds. And that was one of the reasons how I got the moniker Scholar Slayer. And I was also challenged in the bulletproof video, since that moniker was given to me, to see if I could slay the information presented by the scholars that Piankhi had in that video. So I'm not going to touch everybody. I'm only going to touch on the two scholars that he presented on baptism. And we're going to go into that after I see if Jerome has something to say before I get into that.
Oh nah, man. I think you pretty much said it all, man. I mean, we went through the timeline of you know, of the back and forth. You know, they claim that these things were stolen. We proved that they weren't stolen, and you know, they kind of tried to move the goalposts, I think, and they tried to say that these things existed in Kemet before, the Christian ideology was established, which I still don't necessarily agree with, you know what I'm saying, based on based on the scholarship and things of that nature. But I'm gonna let you go in though.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm gonna touch on this baptism for a second, and I want to do first. I want to play the video of what I said, so that way we can clear up all the confusion and there won't be no misnomers. So let me share my screen for a second. Hope y'all can hear this as well. Now, I know it kind of got a little muffled towards the end right there, but at the very last end, as you can see, we're still holding our position because I made it clear that nothing was stolen or nothing was copied. So I still stand on the square that Egypt did not have baptisms. But in that same video, I said, even if you want to call their water rituals baptisms, they were not baptisms in the same way that we practice them in Christianity. So since I made that clear, now I want to prove my point beyond that, to prove that not only were they not the same as the Christian baptisms, they didn't have baptisms at all. Now, don't forget, I'm not saying they didn't have water rituals. They didn't have baptism at all. Now, let me prove that. We're going to go right to the definition that Brother Piankhi used from Merriam-Webster, the 1828 version. All right, he used, from definition number 1, he used B. Now notice B says a non-Christian rite using water for ritual purposes. Now ask yourself, why did they have to put non-Christian? Why is the word Christian even in there in the first place? I'm going to show you why. Scroll down here, you find out that the first known use of baptism is in the 14th century, and it is defined as what they said in 1A. A Christian sacrament marked by ritual use of water and admission the recipient to the Christian community. Now B goes on and it says what it says about a non-Christian ritual water purification. So what you do is, according to dictionaries, you would have to take this word from the 14th century and you would use it from 14th century AD onward. What Brother Piankhi tried to do was take a word from 14th century and apply it to something that happened in BC time backwards. Now, that's a common mistake that we all make, including myself. We take popular words and we apply the meaning of those words to something else because that's the popular word. But if we're going to actually use words like baptism, in which baptism was a word that was invented to specifically describe the water ritual and ceremonial practice that Christians had done. That's why the word was invented. Other places did have water rituals, but it wasn't called baptisms. Now, when we scroll down here, again, the word baptism comes from the word baptismo, which is a Latin word. Now, when you go right here to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, and it says the English language learner's definition of baptism. Notice there's only one definition. A Christian ceremonial in which a small amount of water is placed on a person's head or in which a person's body is briefly placed underwater. Notice there's no other definition after that. What they're telling you is that this word didn't exist And when it did come into existence, it was used to describe a specific thing. And Merriam-Webster also wanted us to click this link where it says, see the full definition of baptism in the English language. So we're going to do that. All right. Right there, Jerome, you can see where it says a Christian ceremony in which a small amount of water is placed upon a person's head, in which a person's body is briefly placed underwater. A baptism officially makes one a member of what? The Christian church. And then it talks about baptism from fire, and after that, there is no more. So again, people make the common mistake of taking words, and because they're popular, they use them to describe other things, when in this case, this word here, we have to take the full definition. And what people like to do is take the part where it talks about placing a person underwater, which is only parts of the definition. They would take that part and apply it to any given ritual that places a person underwater. And I'm not going to say that they're wrong for doing that, but they are wrong if they're doing that and try to imply that something is copied or stolen. So really what's being done is they're copying and stealing from Christianity in reverse. You get what I'm saying? They're stealing from us in reverse. Right, you see what I'm saying? Okay. His scholar that he pulled up that he wanted me to slay is a man that goes by the name of Jeremy Myers. Now, I have nothing against Jeremy Myers. He's a Christian brother, and I have no reason at all to want to slay this brother. What I'm going to prove is that his information was taken out of context. He was misrepresented in what he said, and I'm also going to prove some other things that are going to be detrimental to what Brother Piankhi presented. Now, yes, Brother Jeremy Myers, Jerome.
Yeah,
Jerome.
I'm here.
Yeah, I just want to, he said that Brother Jeremy Myers was a scholar, right? And he said he had a master's degree, right?
Right.
And that's true. This dude is a scholar. Man, he got a bachelor's degree. He got a master's degree. But let's see what his degrees are in, bro. On his own website, he says, I have received my bachelor's in Bible and theology from Mooney Bible Institute in Chicago, and my master's of theology in Bible explosion from Dallas Theological Seminary in Dallas. So you see, yes, he does have a master's degree, but what field is it in? Is it in history or is it in Egyptology?
No, sir.
Not at all, right? So he would need a scholar who is an expert in history or in Egyptology to back up his claims about baptism, not a person who don't even study in the field. So not only was this a bad choice for a scholar, I don't even know why he would even think to even get this person to back up any claim whatsoever when this person is not making an argument for Egypt at all. Okay. Brother Piankhi went to this book right here from Jeremy Myers called Dying to Religion and Empire, Giving Up Our Religious Rights and Legal Rights. Now, this book, they're going to tell you what it's about. It says, can Christianity exist without religious rights? Are baptisms and communions required for the church to exist? What about freedom of religion and the right to assemble? Now, in this book, Brother Jeremy Myers he's talking to Christians, and he's making an argument. Are we still Christians if we don't perform some of these ritual rites? This is the whole argument he's making, bro. He's not making any other argument. He's not trying to prove nothing about Egypt. He's not trying to prove nothing about anything else. Don't forget, he's a scholar in Christian theology. You see what I'm saying? So, Brother Piankhi went to this book, and he went to this page. He went to the second paragraph, where it says, right here, interestingly, the Egyptians believed that it was the god Osiris himself who chose whom to baptize, and he chose them by drowning or immersing them in the Nile River. If a person fell into the river and drowned, or was pulled into the river by a crocodile, it was believed that Osiris had specifically chosen that person for some special role in the afterlife, and the person's body was treated as the most holy and sacred relic. Now, Jerome, you remember when he disagreed with everything in that paragraph, right?
Right.
The only thing he agreed with was the part in the second sentence where it said baptized. Now, I want to ask you, is it reasonable for you to take the word of a person in which you, let's just say 98% disagree with everything that they said, but then agree with the one thing that backs up what you want to believe? Is that reasonable?
Nah, because essentially what you're doing is you're cherry picking the word because it says baptized, but you're basically negating everything else surrounding the word.
All right. Now, watch this. Now, I don't fault my brother Jeremy Myers for what he said because he's not making an argument for Egypt at all. So there's nothing that he's saying for me to rip to shreds. Now, Jeremy Myers himself backed up his own claim, and he backed it up on this specific chapter in his book. And this is what he said. I'm guessing, I'm just assuming, just like we have been presented with somebody who took his work out of context, he probably was presented with somebody probably came to him as well and took his work out of context too. And that probably what prompted him to write this. Now, after reading what we just read from his book, which is what the top paragraph says, if you come down to this second paragraph, this is what he says. He says, this idea, and he's talking about the idea that he mentioned, you know, about the crocodile drowning and the baptism and all that. He says, this idea fits perfectly with the definition of baptism as in what, bro?
Immersion.
There you go. Now, isn't he saying the same thing I just said about the definition, where people take parts of the definition of baptism, which is the immersion part, and they try to tie that into the whole baptism? So I'm sorry, Brother Piankhi. Not only did this man not back up your claim, not only should you not have used this dude at all because he would be considered non-credible because he don't even study in the field, but what he said actually backs up my claim.
Right.
You know what I'm
You
saying, bro?
you gotta check your armor. You gotta check your armor before you claim you're bulletproof.
There you go. There you go. Now, another scholar that he brought up was Donald E. Nebro, if I'm pronouncing his last name right. And yes, this dude has degrees too. Oh man, I'm pretty sure he's a scholar. I'm pretty sure he's good in his field of study. I'm pretty sure he's great in his field of study. But let's see what his field of study is. It says that he earned a BS degree in what? Electrical engineering from Purdue University with highest distinction in 1978. Then it says, and a JD degree from Harvard. This man went to Harvard, so you know he's real smart. But what did he go to Harvard for? Law school in 1974. So again, just like Jeremy Myers, this dude is not a historian. He don't study Egyptology. So in the field of Egyptology and in the field of history, if they presented something, they would be considered non-credible. Because why? Not because they're bad at what they do, it's because this isn't their field of study. They're not scholars in this field. So Brother Piankhi went to this dude, and he went to his article, in which I have the article. He went to this article right here. He went to the second paragraph, and this is what he read. He read, some people have speculated, probably incorrectly, that the word amen used in many of the world's religions is connected with the god Amun, who was worshipped at Karnak. Far more likely is the conclusion that the widespread practice of using water for ritual purification may have begun at Karnak Sacred Lake almost 3,500 years ago. Now notice, the man never said baptize not one time. He never said baptize or baptism at all. Never said it. He said the same thing I said. What? Water rituals. Now, let's break down this paragraph real quick because this man's words were also misrepresented. Now, he says some people may have speculated probably incorrectly. Now, why did he put that word probably right there? Probably shows speculation. He's showing you that he don't know if it's true or not. This is just what he thinks. Because what he should have said is that some people have some people have speculated incorrectly that the word amen is connected to Amun, because every person who studies linguistics, in which Brother Jerome, I, and Brother Piankhi, we all agree that the word amen in Hebrew has nothing to do with Amun in Egyptian or Kemetic literature. So we all agree on that. And this man is not making an argument for if it's true, if it's not. That's why he said probably. Then we go to the next sentence and he says what? Or more likely. There go another word that shows what? Speculation. He said, far more likely is the conclusion that the widespread practice of using water for ritual purification may have, there go another word again that shows what? Speculation. Begun at Karnak Sacred Lake almost 3,500 years ago. So see, this dude's words were being misrepresented because this dude was not making an argument or confirming or debunking anything. He was pretty much giving his opinion, and he used several words. And I would like to believe that he was careful in using these words because one of them is even in parentheses, which meaning that he wants us to take it seriously. So he used his own opinion in his own sentences, and this is the dude that, one of the dudes that Brother Piankhi wanted to use to back up his claim that there was baptisms in Kemet. So let me unshare my screen. Well, hold up, not yet. So going back, not only did neither one of those dudes confirm baptism in Egypt, I have showed that the word was invented in the 14th century and it could be used from that time on forward. It is incorrect to use a word from when it was invented to that time backwards, but all of us do that, and it is a common mistake that we all make as humans. But now that we understand the truth about at least this word baptism, the next time we see the word used, we should ask ourselves, is what it's being used for describing what the definition actually means, or is it taking away half of the definition just to describe the part about being immersed in water or milk or blood or any type of liquid, and then using that part of the definition to describe what they mean? And in my closing, I want to show this. It says, although the term baptism is not used to describe the Jewish rituals, the purification in Jewish law and the traditions called, I can't pronounce that word, but I'm going to try, Trivela, have some similarities to baptisms, and the two have been linked. Now notice, before Christians came along, the Jews had water rituals too. But guess what? They were not called baptisms. So this further proves my point that yes, other cultures, other nations, other whatever, they had water rituals. And I also said in the video that we are not denying or do we doubt that they had water rituals. We even gave them a little rope, as in saying you can call those things baptism if you want to. All we were saying was that, can you prove that they were copied or stolen from them? But now I have went farther in proving my case that they were not even baptisms. So I'm sorry, Brother Piankhi. Yes, y'all are bulletproof, but not because you absorbed the shots that were directed towards y'all. It was because you specifically, misrepresented our other Christian brothers who are scholars. And I feel like you also didn't even address the argument at hand. I'm gonna go back to my screen. Jerome, you want to say something about that, bro?
Yeah, I got two things I wanted to actually ask. You know what I'm saying? And even though Piankhi says he disagreed with the mode in which baptism, or what he called baptism, was conducted in Kemet, just by reading what Jeremy Myers wrote in regards to that, I would have to ask, why would someone have to drown or be dragged into the Nile by a crocodile in order to be considered for a special role in the afterlife? That
Right.
That seems pretty odd. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Oh, no, keep
going.
I'm just...
Another thing that he did that kind of threw up a red flag, so to speak. After he gave his spiel, he gave his presentation, he gave his information. He proceeded to share 3 depictions of what he called baptism, but they look more like water rituals. You know what I'm saying? Because two of two of the depictions had people supposedly having water poured on them, and I think one was a depiction of a man having I don't know if it represented water or not, because he didn't necessarily go into specifically what they actually meant. You know what I'm saying? It just looked like they were being they were going through some kind of water ritual. I don't even want to call it a baptism because it wasn't a baptism. It actually looked like what he was trying to explain as a baptism or a water ritual. You know what I'm saying? I felt like he kind of superimposed those images to you know, kind of try to strengthen his argument. You know what I'm saying? And the thing about it is, it's like the question will still stand. You know, do those three depictions afterwards indicate an actual baptism? Which I would say no. And if it's indicative of a water ritual, then, you know, what was the water ritual? What did it consist of? You know what I'm saying? Because he gave no literary interpretation to advocate that any of those reliefs were depictions of baptism. So.
Right. I agree. And watch this. And just for the sake of argument, we even gave them the fact that you can call it a baptism, because we were not trying to prove if they had baptisms or water rituals in Egypt. The only thing we were trying to prove is that whatever they were doing wasn't a copy of what we were doing. So in him giving me a challenge, I just gone ahead to destroy the whole notion as a whole. So now, after explaining, showing the definitions, showing how linguistics work, showing how dictionaries work, it will be no reason for anybody who has seen this video to ever believe that a word invented in the 14th century to describe a certain ritual was performed before the word was invented. It's just asinine to believe that. So I'm done with baptism, bro, and I know that you want to speak on the Trinity, man. So go and give your spiel, and I'm gonna interact with you on that. Do you want me to play your video first, or you want me to play it after?
Yeah, you can go ahead and play it first.
All right, let's go play this. For the listening audience, this is another video in which we are going to show that we were not making a stance as in saying if Kemet had a Trinity or not. Our whole stance was, even if they did have a stance, it wasn't a copy of the Holy Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. And I'm going to prove that with my bro own words. Let's go back to YouTube. Here we go. Hope y'all can hear this. Now, let me unshare my screen. Now, as y'all just heard, he was not making an argument for if there was one, because he said even if there was one in Kemet. Now, what Brother Piankhi spent most of his time doing was trying to prove, which I'm like Jerome, I believe he still didn't prove it, but he tried to prove that there was a Trinity in Kemet. Well, that's null and void, because that's not our argument. So go ahead, Jerome, man. Go on and go into your spiel about the Trinity, and do your thing.
Okay. First thing I want to do is I kind of want to piggyback off what you did earlier with you know, defining terms and you know that, you know, the importance of that. Okay. So I'm gonna see if I can share my screen right quick.
Let me make sure it's on for you to share real quick. There you go. You should be able to. Hold up, 1 second. Okay, there you go. You should be able to share.
Okay, cool. All right, went to the wrong thing.
Yeah, while he queuing up everything, we're just trying to show everybody. Yeah, we accepted the challenge. yes, our brothers had good intentions on the videos that they made, but as y'all can see, based off the arguments that were first presented and secondly presented, um, they didn't really address our arguments.
Now we see here I used the Merriam-Webster as my brother Piankhi did and as Jacobus did subsequently. You see the first definition of the Trinity, the unity of Father, Son, and Holy Spirit as three persons in one Godhead according to Christian dogma, which our brother Piankhi did. He did acknowledge, you know what I'm saying? But he also, this is where the problem comes in for me. And like, brother, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this. Brother Piankhi can correct me if I'm wrong on this. But what I'm seeing is he this is what he did. He didn't, instead of defining the word Trinity, if there is an equivalent to the word Trinity in the Medu Neter, and contextualizing it in what he did was he attempted to use a subsidiary or lesser definition to try and insinuate a Trinity into the Kemetic pantheon. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna share one more thing before I really before I kind of go in what I mean by that.
Oh, your audio kind of going in and out just a little bit.
Oh, okay. Hopefully it'll
There you go. It's straight now.
okay. I just wanted to show the first known use of the word Trinity. Now I'm give you a little background on this. Now I'm pretty sure you know about this trust, that the word Trinitas or Trinity, as we call it in more contemporary times, was actually coined by a North African church father by the name of Tertullian in the 2nd or 3rd century, I believe.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? And it was specifically for the Christian ideology. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, there we go again.
You know what I'm saying? He like it's like he can't avoid these shots. He gonna have to take them head on. You know what I'm saying? And once he takes them head on, we gonna see if he's still bulletproof. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But if you look at like I said, the first known use of the word Trinity came from the 13th century. Now, Trinitas or Trinus, which is Latin, can be traced back to Tertullian. You know what I'm saying? And his coining of the term, which we know as Trinity today. And when you look at the etymology of Trinitas, it says state of being threefold. You know what I'm saying? And that was my assertion from the get-go when it came to the definition of the word Trinity. So moving on to what he tried to do, on the very next slide, he tried to superimpose this definition, which was subsidiary, like I said, onto the Memphis triad, which consisted of Ptah, Nefertim, and Sekhmet. And I want you all to also notice how he never defined what a triad is, because it's a difference between a trinity and a triad. A triad is basically a group of three. In this case, Piankhi was trying to make a group of three separate deities.
Can you see that, bro?
Yep.
Okay, I got you.
Now, even with the definition that Brother Trust just shared with you all, we know that Ptah, Nefertim, and Sekhmet were connected, but it's how they were connected that's important. They were connected because they were representations of the Father, the Mother, and the child. You know what I'm saying? And if I'm clear, if I'm not delusional, we never denied that there was a father, mother, and child concept that existed in Kemet. What was denied is that this concept had any bearing on the biblical Trinity, which is completely different from this triad that came out of Kemet, consisting of the father, mother, and child, in definition, concept, operation, and function.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Nothing within the Kemetic pantheon had any influence on the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, which represents the biblical Trinity.
I agree. I agree.
You know.
Okay, so yeah, so like Brother Jerome just showed, man. We could have taken some other stuff too, but we weren't trying to get into another rebuttal or dialogue about them. We were just trying to clear some stuff up, and we hope that what we're saying right now, we hope that these brothers take this information and they can utilize it in the future for other, words and dialogues and stuff like that to come in the future. And we're gonna touch on one more thing before we get up out of here. And Jerome,
I did want to kind of touch on another thing he brought up in regards to the Trinity. It'll be quick.
Okay. Oh no. Well, take time. Go ahead.
Now, he may have been right about Ptah not being a created God until the 25th dynasty. He may have been correct on that, and if he was, I'm never above correction. You know what I'm saying, especially in regards to information. But what he couldn't deny is that Amun and Ra weren't infused until the 11th dynasty. So that furthers, that actually weakens his argument, because within the Kemetic pantheon, you don't see Amun, Ra, and Ptah expressed as a trinity until probably well after the 11th dynasty, which means that there was never a definitive trinity within Kemetic spirituality. You know what I'm saying? Until like the New Kingdom, and you know what I'm saying. You can't really find it in the Old Kingdom or the Middle Kingdom, but in the New Kingdom is where you find Amun, Ra, and Ptah supposedly being one God but three separate deities, which don't really make sense, because a God is a deity. You know what I'm saying? You can't say that one God is three separate deities. You know what I'm saying? I think that's what he said, but it really don't make sense when you critically think about it. But that's all I wanted to kind of touch on. You know what I'm saying, right quick.
Okay, cool. If it ain't nothing else you want to touch on that was on the baptism or anything, we can move on to the the cross. And pretty much though, we didn't really have a lot to say on that, but we did want to address the big white dude in the sky notion again for a second time. Coming from a Christian such as myself, if anybody claims to be a former Christian or something like that, then I automatically assume that they know the text. Now, yes, there are the pictures out here of God and all that stuff, but if you know the text, then you should know that that is not God. So for Christians who know the text, and for somebody who was a former Christian to know the text, I don't feel that it's credible to say that Christians as a whole believe in any of those that are of God or of Jesus, knowing that the Bible says that God is a spirit. It says over and over that he's invisible. When Moses talked to him, he was a burning bush. He wrestled with one dude as a stranger that the man didn't know. So I just really can't see how a person who knows the text could consistently throw around the notion that we believe in a big white dude in the sky.
Yeah, I agree, bro. I mean, what he attempted to do was, I believe he attempted to, use these pictures of European art. He didn't give any art history on the pictures. He just, you know what I'm saying, gave these European cultural expressions of God and Jesus, and you know what I'm saying, things of that nature from a European perspective. You know what I'm saying? We have these same expressions in China, India, Latin America, and Africa. So
about that.
You know,
Right. Keep on going. Right. You're right.
He just he kind of that was kind of a weak attempt at him. You know what I'm saying, trying to make it seem like God was this big white dude in the sky. And then what's more is he tried to he took this contemporary picture of the Jews and tried to say that Jesus looked like them, when we know historically that, you know, Christ was a brown-skinned Palestinian Hebrew. You know what I'm saying? And that's in staunch contrast to what Piankhi was attempting to do. And like you said, bro, like, one of the first commandments is you know what I'm saying, not to make God into an idol. And, you know, although we see that.
Hold on, before you leave that. Like you said, one of the commandments is for us not to make God in our images, right? So even though we're not going to touch on the 10 Commandments, since the 10 Commandments is somehow stolen from the 42 laws of Mayat, and our 10 Commandments say don't make any images of God or deity or anything in heaven, then what y'all doing making them images with the, you know, human bodies and animal heads?
Exactly.
Where's y'all 42 law that say that y'all can't do that or y'all shouldn't do that?
That's what I'm saying, bro.
But I don't want to get into that argument.
Yeah, you read my mind, because I was just about to go into that.
Okay, like, my bad. Go ahead, my bad.
Nah, you good, because you know what I'm saying, we just was thinking on the same frequency, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? We just what I'm saying is, and you already said it, but I'm gonna expound a little bit more, is that these people, you know, they made idols almost at a whim, you know what I'm saying, based on, you know, these aspects of nature and you know what I'm saying, which were pretty much deified. And you know, so you can't try to say that we as Christians do that, because we don't do that in Orthodox fashion. We don't do that. But people do express, you know, they make cultural expressions of not only Jesus and sometimes God, not all the time, but of all the other, you know, biblical figures as well. So,
and we can take it a step forward and just say, for the Christians who do make those images, they wrong. We're not making no excuse for those people. Like you said, inside the 10 Commandments right there, which is one of the commandments that didn't fade out in the New Covenant, was not to make images. So, like I say, it was not only wrong for the Christians who have done it, it also takes away from the Kemetic people who say that the 10 Commandments is stolen from the 42 laws of Mayat, because that's another law that y'all don't have. And not only do y'all not have it, y'all have, like you said, tons of idols up there in Egypt. Our God tell us not to do that because nobody knows what God looks like. So I feel like that's another ball in the pocket for our pool table. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And another reason why we're commanded not to do that is because those idols can't do anything other than what, you know what I'm saying? Like, first of all, these idols are made by human hands. So they already are contingent in a way, because without man making these idols wouldn't exist.
At all.
You know what I'm saying?
And that's a lot of people like to take Jeremiah 10 and say that that's talking about a Christmas tree. No, Jeremiah 10 is talking about the exact things that the Egyptians used to do, whether it was with wood or metal or rock. They chop down trees, or they chop out rocks, or they take gold and they take silver and they fashion an idol unto themselves, and they worship that idol as God. That's the Bible specifically describes exactly what they did.
Right.
So we're not in that mess.
Yeah, but that whole this is the last thing I'm gonna say on it. You know what I'm saying? Just for the sake of time, that whole thing about, you know, the 42 negative confessions having some influence on the 10 Commandments, that argument should have been dead. You know what I'm saying? Because when you look at what both are predicated on, and you actually compare and contrast the 42 negative confessions and the 10 Commandments, you're not gonna see any similarities, because, like we said in our rebuttal, 42 negative confessions are spells. They're not commandments. They're not even laws. They are spells. So for anybody to bring up that argument, that shows that they haven't done their due diligence in digging up what both represent and going from there. But I don't want to. I ain't gonna dwell on that long at all.
And I want to say this to close out on that. Like, why is it that as Christians we take our stuff and we call it what it is? Whether if we say it in English or in Spanish or whatever, we call it what it is based off the definition and term that it's given. And when it comes to other people, such as the Kemetics, they like to take our words and apply it to them. Well, no, what are your words? What was the definition that described what Shah was doing? If there was a Trinity in Egypt, what was that called? If there was baptism in Egypt, what was that called? Because we just showed the etymology of the words, and it couldn't have been called a baptism, couldn't have been called a Trinity, couldn't have been called any of those things because those things were not in existence. And I think we did a good job at proving those things today. I think we did a good job at really showing that they had good work, they had good videos and all that, but they really didn't address the argument at hand. And I also want to say this before I leave. This was a side thing that I had said, and Piankhi did pick up on this, and he did prove his point on this. I said that people back then wasn't walking around with ankhs around their necks in the same way that we do with crosses around their neck. Now, I said in the Shots Fired Part 1 and the video before that, I said that I'm not big on the religion and what it talks about, and I'm not big on the religious people and what they did. So I was talking about the regular people who were non-religious. I was pretty much, well, I was saying that those were the people who were not walking around with crosses and ankhs around their neck. But nevertheless, Brother Piankhi did a great job at proving, regardless if they was religious or non-religious, he did a great job at proving that they did wear ankhs around their neck like we do as crosses today. And I just want to put that out there. Is there anything else you want to say, Jerome, before we close out?
Well, I think, and I can't dwell on this long, but I think the way he interprets the cross is probably the way that we interpret the ankh, because I don't know a whole lot about the ankh except that it represents, it supposedly represents life, and it being like the key to the afterlife, and them actually wearing these ankhs and having these ankhs in their hands and things like that is something that I was oblivious to going in. But I feel like it's the same way with Piankhi and describing the cross, because even though we broke down what the cross meant to us as Christians, it's not a historical or archaeological thing. It's centered on Christ and what he did. You know what I'm saying? And that kind of reminds me of what's in 1 Corinthians chapter 1 and 18, where Paul says the message of the cross is foolishness to those who are headed for destruction. You know what I'm saying? So, and if they want to, well, you know what? I'll say that for later. I ain't gonna speak on that right now. Sake of time.
Okay. Man, sure. I think we stuck to our word on this one. I think we kept it a little short. I think we right up under an hour, almost up on an hour, if I'm not mistaken, or whatever. So I just want to leave this last notion out there to the brothers at Paradigm Shift TV. Brother Piankhi, you said you are the smoke. And over here at Trust and Believe the Gospel, one of our mottos is that we want the smoke. So we're looking forward to this future debate. We accept y'all challenge in love. And we hope that y'all take this video, look over it, and we hope y'all learn something from it. And we hope that the next time y'all engage Christians, such as Jerome and myself, y'all would do y'all due diligence to actually address the arguments at hand. Because if not, we just gonna have to do this all over again to y'all, man. Jerome, you can go ahead and get the last words on this one, my brother.
Okay, well, I want to start off by saying, as always, it's a pleasure to be on with you. You know what I'm saying? Defending the gospel and you know, clearing up misconceptions and things of that nature. And yeah, our brother Piankhi, he said he was bulletproof, but not after this. You know what I'm saying? You know, he he's only bulletproof because he wasn't in the line of fire, and you know what I'm saying. And
Right.
this go round, we put him directly in the line of fire. So he you know, he can't absorb these shots, and he can't deflect these shots, as he said. You know what I'm saying?
He must thought we was that Prodigy song where that boy kind talking about cat 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 cat. Nah, we shooting real bullets over here. We ain't shooting blanks or whatever. But yeah, y'all, I am nobody. I always trying to tell everybody about somebody who can save anybody, and that is Jesus Christ. That is Jerome, the conscious Christian Green, Mr. Co-host to you. This is Trust and Believe the Gospel, and we love y'all, and we'll see y'all in the next one.